Hey friends, Trisha here on Freedom Hill. I wanted to bring into the Freedom Hill kitchen tonight to show you my recipe for chicken tortilla soup. I loved Chick-Fil-A's chicken tortilla soup so much that I wanted to recreate it. So I found some recipes online and I experimented and I played around and I found one that I think mimics the recipe the best. My recipe will be in the description box. Come along in the kitchen and let's make soup. Today for dinner I am making chicken tortilla soup, and this is a mock recipe from Chick-fil-A. It tastes so much like theirs. I took a few recipes off the internet and kind of took a little bit from each and made my own. So I wanted to show you how I get started and then I'll make the soup. First thing, I have a rotisserie chicken that I took off the bone. I have 2 cans of black beans, 1 can of red kidney beans, 2 small cans of diced chilies, a can of sweet corn, let me show you, my own homemade taco seasoning, 1 onion, heavy whipping cream, masa, and my homemade bone broth. And that will be the base for the soup. I do not drain the beans, I do not drain the corn or the peppers. I want all those flavors blended into this soup, and it is quite delicious. I'll be using this stainless steel pot to make the soup. Did I mention 1 onion? Yes, I think I did. So there's all the ingredients I need. So let's get started. One thing I forgot to mention is I also use unsalted butter and I use regular salt and pepper. I have salt here in my pepper mill bag. So I'll also be using those things. Okay, to get the soup started, I turn my burner on. This is a super burner, so I need to put it on a lower temperature. So I'm putting it on number 4 to start, and then I'll add the butter. And while that melts, I'm chopping up an onion with my small food processor. Another thing I forgot to mention that goes into this recipe is 2 cloves of garlic. So I'll also be throwing garlic in with the onions to chop up. 2 good-sized cloves of garlic. I'll just kind of smash them. This is actually 3 cloves of garlic, but that's not a bad thing. Peel them a little bit. I like to chop off the grown end, and I'll just throw them in the food processor. This has already melted very quickly, very nicely, so I will throw the onions and garlic in together and try to get it all out of there. I know some people chop up onions by hand, but I don't feel like crying today, and they make me cry, so I'm just going to put them in from my little food processor, which is handy and quick and easy to use. Hi. Saying hi to my husband as he runs in and out. Me and my son are working out in the garage, getting stuff ready for the move. I'm going to turn the heat down even a little lower while this starts to cook and some garlic. In the meantime, I do need to open these cans, and like I said, I do not drain them because I want all that flavor that's in the can, all that flavor that comes with the beans, all the flavor that comes with the corn, and all the flavor that comes in the diced green chilies. I want all that flavor in my recipe. So I am not going to drain my cans at all. I will add masa to the carrots, onions, and butter to make like a roux in there. The masa is what gives this a great, fantastic, like Mexican flavor. Sorry, I hit my camera there. So it also makes a roux. And also it starts to really smell very nicely. Okay, so after the masa, I will add my homemade bone broth. And you can see how this has really hardened up on top, but it's very liquid under there. I don't know, I might have to use a spoon to kind of break it to get that out of there. See, then it just pours right out. This one is broken up a little better. So once I get those in, then I will turn the heat up a little bit higher, like to a medium. And like I said, this is a super burner, so its medium is most burners high. I'll stir that together and let that all melt. At this point, I add salt and pepper to taste. So I will add, this is like 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'll add a couple of these, and then I'll add more later if I need to. And I will add pepper. I'll grind a few grinds of pepper. I will stir that in. I'm watching that while I open the rest of my cans so I can make sure it comes up to a proper boil. And then I will start adding all these cans of ingredients, and this soup will come together very quickly. It does not have to come to a full boil before I start adding the other ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to add 2 cans of black beans. With their juice. Do not drain the beans. Here's my second can of black beans. I add 1 can of red kidney beans. 1 can of red kidney beans. Again, I don't drain them. Get all that bean juice flavor. One can of sweet corn. And 2 cans of diced green chilies. These are smaller cans. The others are like, I don't know, this is a 4-ounce can. The other cans are between 12 and 15 ounces. So 1 can of chili peppers goes in. There's my second can. Now I'm going to add several handfuls of this rotisserie chicken that I sliced up, that I took off the bone when I bought it. So we'll just put this in very informally with my hands. They're clean. And we will let this start to simmer. The chicken is in big pieces, but it will, like, they'll get easier as they cook, a little smaller, and it makes the soup very, very hearty. I'm not using all this chicken because this is from a whole rotisserie chicken, so I'm using just about half of it and a mixture of dark and white meat. The dark meat is much more tender and gives a deeper flavor. And I want to stir this together and let that come to a boil. And seriously, this is about it. I will let this simmer and I'll test it. I will test it to see if the flavor is right. And then I'll salt and pepper to taste once I get to that point. But I did not add the heavy cream until the very last thing. And that just kind of gives it a rich, creamy texture toward the end. But I don't want to put the heavy cream in now. It'll scorch. So it's better to add it at the end. So I'm going to let this come to a boil, and then we will check on it. I nearly forgot to add my taco seasoning. I don't know if that's focusing, but I'm going to add that now. I will do about 4 teaspoons heaping, maybe 3. I'm running out. I need to make more. I'll link my recipe, or I'll put my recipe in the description box for this taco seasoning, because it really is delicious and it lasts a long time when I make a batch. You see this soup starting to come together? The masa will thicken it up as it simmers. Right now I'm bringing it to a boil, and then once it reaches a boil, I will put it on simmer. I'll change it to the back burner because this, as I said before, this is a super burner, and even the low setting will not, it would be more than a simmer. So I wanted to make sure I move it, but I wanted to get started on this burner and get it going quick. As you can see, it's starting to boil around the edges. So what I'm gonna do is turn on the burner behind it, which is not a super burner, and I'm gonna move the pan to that back burner and put a lid on it. Now the pan is on the back burner and starting to simmer, so I will put the lid on it and let it simmer for about a half hour to 45 minutes. So I'll check back with you soon. Okay friends, I'm back at the stove here, and I don't think it's thickened up as much as I want. So I added some, let's see if I can show it to you, water to some masa and made a slurry. And I just whipped that up a little bit, and I'm gonna add that into the soup and let it thicken up. Because I really want it to be like not a super thick soup like a stew or anything, but I want it to be just a little thicker than soup. So we'll let that simmer for a few more minutes and thicken up, and that's only going to deepen the flavor. I'm going to taste test it one more time. So I'll be back in a few minutes to add the heavy cream. Oh my word. That only made it better. All right, let's bring that back to a simmer and let it simmer a little while longer. All right, let's check on the soup and see how she's doing. Simmering very lightly. It has thickened ever so slightly from the slurry, so I'm really satisfied with that. I'm going to add the heavy cream now, and I don't really measure it. I'm sorry about that, but it's probably between 1/4 and half a cup of heavy whipping cream. Do not shake it up or anything because you don't want it to be like butter. But I just add enough heavy cream in there to give it a little more richness and fullness. It actually changes the color a little bit, but that's okay because the stuff is so delicious. You would not believe how good this is. You've got to try this. I rinsed my tasting spoon. I'm going to taste it again, see where we are. This soup is practically perfect in every way. So enjoy. I hope you make this. Honestly, if you do, let me know in the comments how yours turns out. Let me know if you like it. As I said, I'll have the recipe in the description box. Heat off. It needs to sit for 5 or 7 minutes, and I'll get the table set and things ready for dinner.